Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Deadly Beauty, where I do a makeup look that corresponds with the plant of the day, and throw in a murder mystery as well. Today's Deadly Beauty episode is about a plant with a sneaky persona. A plant that looks beautiful from afar, yet so deadly up close. Introducing Foxglove. Let's get started. Known scientifically as Digitalis purpurea, is both beautiful and deadly. A classic example of nature's duality. Native to Western Europe, this towering biennial has bell-shaped blossoms in shades of purple, pink, white, and cream. Its name stems from folklore. Some believe foxes wore the blooms on their paws to silence their footsteps, while others called them dead man's bells or witch's gloves. The plant contains potent cardiac glycosides, primarily digitoxin and digoxin, which can regulate heartbeat in precise doses, but become lethal with even slight miscalculation. Green or yellow vision, nausea, and a slowed heart rate are telltale signs of poisoning. Though, despite this danger, Foxglove laid the foundation for modern cardiology after an 18th century doctor, William Withering, published a groundbreaking study on its use in treating dropsy. Though admired in gardens for its height and elegance, Foxglove demands respect. Even touching its leaves without protection can cause skin irritation, especially through cuts. It is highly toxic to pets, livestock, and humans. With all parts of the plant, leaves, flowers, seeds, and roots, capable of causing death if ingested. Bees, interestingly, are drawn to its nectar and help pollinate it, though they remain unharmed. In folklore, Foxglove was often seen as a fairy plant, believed to grow where betrayal had taken place, or to serve as a bridge between the living and the spirit worlds. Its connection to both healing and haunting makes it a perfect emblem for stories of revenge, deception, and fate. Picture the countryside outside Verona in 1874. Rolling vineyards stretch like sleepy arms across hillsides. Olive trees flicker in the breeze, and the air is scented with lavender and wood smoke. In a town tucked between the hills stood a modest but thriving apothecary owned by two young visionaries. Elena Baresi, a gifted botanist with a mind like a microscope, and Giovanni Ferrero, a charming businessman whose silver tongue made everything sell. Together, they were unstoppable. Elena had inherited the knowledge of 5 generations of herbalists. Her formulations were precise, cautious, and rooted in tradition. Giovanni was the face of the brand, making connections with nobles and merchants, pushing their remedies into luxury salons and elite circles. The jewel in their apothecary crown was a new heart tonic, based on Digitalis, distilled from Foxglove. Elena warned of its dangers. She insisted the dosage had to be exact, the extract purified, and the label marked with caution. But Giovanni grew impatient. He secretly began diluting Elena's careful formula, cutting corners to increase supply and lower costs. He altered the filtration method and skipped crucial safety steps. When their tonic launched, it flew off shelves. And then the letters started. 3 deaths in 3 towns, complaints of severe nausea, fainting spells, seizures. Elena was horrified. She traced the cause and discovered Giovanni's tampering. She confronted him, expecting remorse, but he shrugged. "It's just business," he said. "Besides, the formula is under my name. The business, the credit, all mine." Elena walked out. but not before memorizing every bottle in the back room and every secret she once shared. Elena wasn't alone in her fury. Her closest friend and former university peer, Liliana Mancini, had once studied chemistry under government scholarship, a rising star in perfumery. But her formulas were stolen, ironically, by Giovanni. Years prior, when she briefly worked for his old mentor. Liliana had always wanted justice. Elena had the means. In her family's abandoned villa, Elena found a forgotten foxglove patch, tall, ghostly stalks swaying like sentinels. Together, she and Liliana collected the leaves and flowers, then dried them in silk-wrapped parchment, powdered them in an old granite mortar, and distilled the glycosides slowly, using copper kettles to preserve their strength. They tested the exact dose. Not enough for instant death, but enough to mimic natural heart failure. Enough for Giovanni to collapse at the feet of his newest business partners, with no suspicion. Or so they thought. Weeks after the scandal had nearly blown over, Giovanni Ferrero emerged from the shadows of gossip and disgrace with grandeur. He spared no expense, transforming his countryside villa into a spectacle of opulence. The gala was to celebrate the miraculous rebound of his tonic business, a rebirth, as he called it. Guests from Rome, Milan, Paris, and even Vienna arrived in velvet carriages, their eyes glittering with promise and profit. The garden was a perfumed dream, lined with glowing lanterns, tables of marinated olives, fig tarts, and blood orange wine. But the true centerpiece? Towering foxglove hedges in full bloom, proudly lining the walkway. He had no idea they were his eulogy. Elena arrived in a lavender gown that swept the cobblestones like mist. Her hair, pinned with sprigs of rosemary and amethyst, glimmered under candlelight. Liliana followed closely behind. Her perfume, handcrafted and lethal, was a haunting blend of crushed foxglove petals, citrus rind, and iris. It wrapped around her like a spell. They moved through the party like smoke, calm and precise. Giovanni welcomed them with a smirk, offering flutes of rose-colored wine as if nothing had happened, as if their formula hadn't been corrupted, as if lives hadn't been lost. He raised a glass. "To nature's miracle," he said, "to healing in a bottle, and to those who make beauty bloom." Elena met his eyes and toasted. Liliana smirked with her teeth. As music from a string quartet swelled, Giovanni danced, charming investors and sipping the wine they handed him, herbal, yet slightly bitter. He twirled a young heiress, kissed a countess's hand, and laughed under the stars, until his rhythm faltered. Subtle at first, a misstep. A hand to the chest. He laughed again, dismissing it. But his fingers trembled, his eyes unfocused. Sweat shimmered along his brow. Then came the collapse. Slow, almost graceful, like a curtain being drawn. Gasps rippled across the crowd. Someone screamed. The quartet stopped mid-note. A physician knelt beside him, checked for a pulse, and looked up with dread in his eyes. It was over. Giovanni Ferrero, a miracle merchant, lay still on the lawn. The foxglove hedges swayed gently behind him, whispering secrets in the breeze. Just days before, Elena had planted them herself, their roots soaked in memory. And beneath them, weeks later, his body would rest, buried quietly in the garden he built on betrayal. But Foxglove never dies quietly, not even in the 18th century. Giovanni's death, dramatic as it was initially ruled as natural, an unfortunate ailment of the heart, worsened by the man's indulgent lifestyle and constant travel. But whispers began to stir by morning. A few older guests murmured about the peculiar stillness of his passing, how it wasn't the thrashing agony of illness, but a quiet slipping away. It was too clean, too prepared. Then came word from Maestro Benedetto, a 71-year-old herbalist who had once studied under the famed Tuscan alchemist Bartolomeo di Sere. He had attended the gala as a distant cousin of one of the investors. Quiet and observant, he noticed the foxglove hedges immediately. Digitalis purpurea, he murmured to himself. Common in English gardens, rare in Italian ones, especially in such volume. Its leaves, when dried and crushed, were lethal. But in small amounts, digested in drink, they were nearly undetectable, except by someone trained to see. He sent the letter, sealed in beeswax, to the local Capitano di Giustizia, the regional authority appointed by the crown to oversee matters of law and public order. The Capitano, a meticulous man named Renzo Vitali, opened an inquiry by horseback order. Not a police raid, such things didn't exist in that form yet, but an official inspection of papal law and civic custom. Inspectors arrived at the Baresi estate posing as customers seeking healing tinctures. Inside the apothecary chamber, tucked behind the greenhouse, they found a strange silence. On the shelves, bell jars filled with dried roots and flowers labeled in Latin, precise as any physician's records. A thick ledger sat open on the table, revealing neat records of plant usage, weight conversions, and dosage estimates. One page in particular was marked with a pressed foxglove flower. Nearby, handwritten notes on Giovanni's tonic formula lay scrawled with corrections, and red X marks through several ingredients. They confiscated her records under suspicion of veleno arte, poison by art. Simultaneously, Liliana's perfume atelier in town was searched under royal warrant. The Capitano's men found amphorae of steeped petals and a copper still used to distill essential oils. A journal revealed the latest scent blend: 1 part iris, 2 parts orange blossom, and a mid-note of digitale, Latin for foxglove. And that term sealed her fate. Liliana was arrested at dawn, just as she was prepared to leave for Florence. She didn't protest. Elena too was found without resistance, kneeling at her family chapel, tucking herbs into a linen pouch for travel. "You're late," she said, simply, as if she was expecting them. The trial was held under the governance of the local bodesta and a tribunal of clerks and noble landowners. The courtroom, housed in an old monastery hall, brimmed with tension. Nobles, apothecaries, priests, and merchants gathered to witness the judgment. Poison was a crime associated with heresy, witchcraft, and rebellion, especially when delivered with such cunning. Elena spoke plainly. She named Giovanni as a thief, a liar, and destroyer of their work. Liliana claimed no guilt, but her perfume was undeniable. A distillate found on Giovanni's glass matched a tincture stored in her workshop. Expert testimony from Benedetto and 2 Florentine physicians solidified their knowledge of the poison's behavior. The sentence was life imprisonment in the San Clemente convent, a stone-walled fortress of repentance where former nuns, heretics, and female criminals were sent to wither in silence. Their tools were burned in the town square. Herbals, scales, perfumery flasks, all except for a single foxglove stalk, which was displayed in court as evidence. But inside the convent walls, so the whispers go, old knowledge never truly dies. They say a healing salve began circulating among the other women, that bruises healed faster, that guards slept deeper when certain herbs burned in the air, and in the cracks between stone and story, somewhere, Foxglove still grew. So, Foxglove, for all its beauty, does not forgive carelessness. It teaches us that knowledge is power, and power without restraint, without compassion, becomes poison. Today, Foxglove is still used pharmaceutically, but under strict regulation. Never self-administer it, never harvest it without expertise. And always remember, sometimes the prettiest flowers grow from soil of betrayal. So, the next time you come across this unforgiving flower, playing their siren-like bells and calling your name, step away slowly, for its delicate facade will lure you to an early grave. That is all I have for you today. Remember, do your research, and I'll see you next time. Yours truly, Crimson Fox.